Hello and welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time and effort to join us this afternoon. My name is Daljit Baines. I'm the Head of Admissions and Business Development, and we're here to talk about how to recruit an apprentice. So thank you for taking the time to join us today. I'm going to be joined by my team from Business Services. I'm going to go and quickly introduce them to you. And we're going to be covering the following topics. So I hope you find this informative. Can I remind everybody who is on the webinar that you have the opportunity to ask us questions. There is a chat function in this webinar. Please do just type in your questions. We'll aim to answer them at the end. You might find that we'll be answering some of your questions as we're going through the webinar. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to talk about apprenticeships and how it's going to be beneficial to yourself. We're going to talk about some of the provision that we have. That'll be something that I'll cover. My colleague Nina will be covering the benefits of taking on an apprentice. My colleague Emma will be talking about how to recruit an apprentice. And we're going to be talking about the next steps as well. And she's going to give you some examples of some case studies of some employers that we're working with who have found some really success stories of taking on an apprentice as well. So I hope you find that useful. As I mentioned, please do ask questions and we'll be happy to answer them at the end. So you're here because you're interested about thinking about taking on an apprentice and you want some information. So let me just give you some basic overview. So taking on an apprentice, the earliest time you can take an apprentice on is when they turn 16. It's not uncommon for us to see employers contact us and say they want to offer somebody an apprenticeship at the age of 16. It's important to remember, though, that even though they're 16, they may have the national insurance number, they must finish their full-time education. So if you're thinking of taking someone off who's a year 11 student right now, you'll have to wait until June, July before they actually can start the apprenticeship program with you. It's important because obviously you have to give them an employment contract and obviously get them started with the program of study as well. But you can, in the interim, offer them work experience, give them an opportunity to do a part-time job just to build up towards that. And that'll be a good way of engaging them in your program and into your institution, your organization, sorry. And when you're taking on an apprentice, it's like taking on a new employee. You have to still go through the process of doing induction. You still have to go through the process of actually recruitment and obviously go for the interviews. We'll give you more information about that later. So they are a member of your team and a member of your organization. So please do remember that apprentice is no different to any other staff member that you have. And therefore you do have to follow those protocols and procedures. You can take an apprentice up anywhere in England, and the apprenticeship provision that we have will cover you under the apprenticeship service and apprenticeship course. I'll explain more of that as we go through the slides later on. So what is an apprenticeship all about? Okay, so apprenticeship is an opportunity for you to take on an employee who has actually got the opportunity to attend a training provider like us, like the Windsor Forest Colleges Group. Most of our apprenticeships, by the way, actually all of our apprenticeships actually are based at Langley College, hence why you see the background behind us. That's important to note that if they are attending the college, they'll be attending at Langley College. And it's an opportunity for them to actually get some valuable education and training to underpin the work that they're doing for you. Okay, so how does that look like in reality? So the opportunity is that you may take on an apprentice. They may have a day release. That means they go 1 day a week to the college and actually go and do classes and get the theory, the underpinning knowledge that's necessary to do that particular apprenticeship program. This slide here basically shows the journey in a way of what you would need to do when taking on an apprentice. So we have to do initial assessment. All that means is we have to make sure it's suitable. We have to make sure that the apprentice that you're taking on board is going to match your job and the opportunities you're going to offer. Now, if you've never done a job description before, you never had any experience, please don't worry. Emma's going to give you some information about how to do that, and we can guide you and support you. We're here to help you, just to remember that process. And when you do look at the knowledge and experience, we're going to make sure that matches the apprenticeship that you're going to go for. So we have I have a slide about the apprenticeships that we have on offer. We're going to make sure it's the right level, and it's the contents of it is a representation of the work they're going to be doing. Okay, so if you are taking on an apprentice for example, to do administrative work for you, you want to make sure that the apprenticeship program they're going to do matches their job role and opportunities for them to learn will match the job duties. So it has to be a relationship there. As part of that process, we may also need to do things like numeracy and literacy. So if the apprentice that you're thinking of taking on doesn't already hold maths and English at GCSEs grade 4 and above, there is an opportunity for them to actually do that as part of the apprenticeship program. And that gives them an opportunity to get those valuable skill sets. So just remember, apprenticeships were designed by employers, okay? It was developed by employers because they talked about what they needed. And obviously as an employer yourself, you will know the value of having good literacy and numeracy. And so us offering that ability for them to get the qualification just guarantees you and ensures you that they've got that knowledge and skills, as well as the main skill they're doing for you as an employee. There's also an element of doing something called 20% off the job. And that basically means as part of the program, as part of being on an apprenticeship, not only do they have to come to the college, but they need to do some additional training and development, which is independent. And that's equivalent to 20% of the job. That means that 20% of the time they're going to be on the program needs to be spent on projects, assignments, and obviously making sure you support them through that process. Remember, it's a three-way relationship when you're doing an apprenticeship. You have the student, who is obviously the apprentice, your employee. It's obviously yourselves as the employer. You're there to support them, to give them the necessary opportunity to learn skills. But remember one thing, you're also there to guide them and make sure you give them the time off necessary to complete the projects. And thirdly, we're the training provider, we're the college. We're here to help and give them the underpinning qualification to make them successful. Apprenticeships can be various different lengths. So some can be 12 months, some could be 18, some could be even longer. Depends on obviously the type of apprenticeship you're going to undertake. And I'll explain that when I go on to the next slide. But the most important thing to remember when doing an apprenticeship, there is an endpoint assessment. What that basically means is there's an exam at the end. And that means the apprentice must attend and successfully achieve the exam to meet the qualification. But don't worry, that's what we're here to help you. There will be an opportunity for us to do projects. We'll be monitoring the performance of the apprentice by having an assessor come out and review how they're doing with the apprenticeship program. And we'll make sure that they are ready to do the exam at the end. Okay, if they're not ready, we'll obviously give them the necessary additional support they need. So that makes sure that they are successful. And we want them to be successful because obviously as an employee for you, you want to make sure that they go forward and upwards with their qualification and get the underpinning qualification for their role. And that pretty much is the completion of the apprenticeship cycle. So depending on the length, you will determine how long they will be on the apprenticeship, and then that will give us an idea, obviously, how we can assist you towards that goal. I mentioned to you before that we have a range of apprenticeships on offer. So this is a list of the apprenticeships that we offer at the Windsor Forest Colleges Group. So we have about 5 level 2 qualifications and around 12 level 3 or higher advanced qualifications. So what does level 2 really mean? That's an intermediate level qualification. What that means is it's an opportunity for a person to join at a junior level, maybe is the role that you're thinking of. Okay, so helping out. So they're going to be a trainee. They get the fundamental health and safety elements of the role. So for instance, if you're doing auto care technician, part of that role will be understanding the health and safety aspects of potentially working in a garage environment. Same goes for engineering. And opportunity for people to then also go ahead and do maths and English as part of that as well. The length of the program is something that's obviously in the fact sheet, and that will be information you can obtain from the website. The entry requirements for this, as long as you've got a fairly good understanding of maths and English, that should be sufficient. But obviously, ideally, we would like to have good GCSE grades. But the normal entry requirements for this is good competence in numeracy and literacy, and we will obviously assess them on that as well. Then we've got what we call level 3 apprenticeships. These are what we call advanced apprenticeships, and there's about 12 of those there listed. Now, you may find yourself in a situation that you may want to start an apprentice off at a level 2 and progress them onto a level 3, which is not unusual, because if you are trying to develop someone's skills, someone who has never done an apprenticeship before, you may want to start, for instance, on a level 2 carpentry before you advance them to a level 3. Level 3 is a representation of the type of role and responsibility the person has. So if you're doing a level 3, they are in a position to either be a trainee, but they are going to be able to grow and develop into a role which has got more responsibilities, and therefore there's an opportunity to experience and get more variety of skills as part of that role. That's an important thing to remember. You might notice that in one of the level 3s that we offer, which is plumbing, there isn't actually a level 2 as a stepping stone. And what's happened there is the government's actually introduced a standard which is quite long, which actually combines level 2 and level 3 elements. So all the health and safety aspects you would have done in level 2 is actually covered in the level 3. And so therefore that's why it's kind of longer, and that's why it covers so much content. But the idea is the role at the end will give you the experience, the opportunity to be fully trained, and then you have the stepping stone potentially going to a level 4 qualification. And the one that we offer currently is a level 4 network engineer. So I hope that explains the process. If you're thinking of doing a level 3 or level 4 and you want to move straight onto it, it will be kind of suitable for somebody who may be a more of a mature apprentice. So thinking about taking on an apprentice doesn't necessarily mean taking on a brand new person. I mentioned to you earlier that you may be thinking of taking someone who's 16 or between 16 to 18, and then be obviously suitable to start at level 2, or maybe like the level 3 plumbing if there is no level 2 program. But you can also talk about investing and improving the positions of current employees you may have. People that you want to develop further, want to give them underpinning qualifications. They may have been with you for some time, so they have the work experience necessary, but just don't have the qualifications. So we call those mature apprentices. And that's an opportunity for you to then obviously look at and apply for things like level 3 and level 4. The only thing I would be careful on there is obviously we still do need to cover off things like literacy and numeracy. Okay, so that's just explaining the types of apprenticeships that we have at Windsor Forest Colleges Group. I'm going to go over to Nina, who's going to give you the benefits.
Thank you, Daljit, and good afternoon, everybody. So as Daljit said, I'm just going to talk to you about some of the benefits of actually employing an apprentice. And some of you may already have had apprentices before. This might be the first time that you're thinking about taking one on. So I just thought, it'd be good to just go through some of the key areas that we've had feedback from some of the employers that we've worked with, and some of the benefits that they've actually expressed and said, this has been really good for our business. Obviously, maybe not obviously, but larger employers take apprentices as well as SMEs, which is your small, medium enterprises. So some of you may fall into that category. So you might just be a small company that have very few employees, and you're looking on to take an additional person that you can train and sort of support them in their career path and help them learn the skills that they need to secure a full-time role within that sector. So so some of the stuff that's come up time and time again is things like it can raise your staff's morale. So it's always good and nice to have fresh people coming into the business, coming up with new ideas, giving a different perspective on things. We've noticed that a lot of companies come back and say it also reduces their staff turnover. So for example, for some larger employers, the fact that you're investing into your staff and upskilling them, like Daljit mentioned a little while ago, just gives them that little bit of encouragement that you want them to stay with you and there's some longevity in that employment, and you're supporting them and giving them those opportunities to train and do better within that role. For some larger companies that we work with, it's about them obviously having an improved company image, again, the investment into apprentices and showing that they're making some sort of a corporate social responsibility by supporting the process. So that's always a plus point as well. One of the things that's really useful as well is that, and Emma will talk to you about this in a little while, about how you can recruit an apprentice for your company or your business is the fact that you actually get to pick that person. So if we put out a vacancy for you, for example, you would have the opportunity to go through an interview process with them and actually pick the best candidate and ensure that they match the skills that you need, and they will actually get that level of training and knowledge and skills and behaviours to make sure that they're able to become a good asset to you in the long run. A lot of companies and businesses have come back that it says that have saying that it improves the productivity. So retention and productivity are two key areas that we notice that employers will come back and say, you know, having an apprentice is a real positive for them, and they find that there's a lot more loyalty with apprentices that have come through that route and stay employed with the business. So yeah, so we're just I've got some statistics here for you, for those of you who like to look at figures. So as I mentioned, 86% of employers said, you know, apprenticeships help develop skills relevant to their organisation in particular. 78% of employers have said that it improves their productivity, and 74% of employers said apprenticeships help to improve the quality of their product and service. So just based on that alone, you can see the impact that apprentice could potentially have to your business. So I'm going to move on to apprenticeship funding, something that we all like to talk about, money. Well, me in particular, I do. But so a lot of you might have heard about the Apprenticeship Levy, or you might not have. So the Apprenticeship Levy was something that was started a few years ago by the government, and there's three different brackets of apprenticeship funding. I know this so well, and I don't know why I'm going off track here. But so first of all, you have the levy part. So this is focused on employers that have a payroll of over 3 million. So if you have a payroll of over 3 million, you'll be eligible to have your own levy pot, and that is paid through 0.5% of your wage bill, and it's paid through HMRC. That pot of money is used to take on apprentices through the levy funding. So I'm not sure if any of you fall into that category today, but the other side is your non-levy funding, which is for employers that have less than 50 employees or more, and then the ones that are even smaller than that, and the funding is broken down to two streams there. So if you have 50 employees or more, you would pay a contribution of 5% of the value of the apprenticeship. So for example, if an apprenticeship costs £9,000, you would make the contribution of 5% over the duration of the apprenticeship. If you have 50 employees or less, you still need to make the 5% contribution if your apprentice is 19 plus. And if they are 16 to 18, then the government covers the total funding for that particular apprenticeship. That might be a lot of information to take on because I've gone through it quite quickly. But like Daljit said, we are available for questions afterwards if there's anything on that you're not clear about. But what we tend to do is when we do speak to employers about taking an apprentice, we do explain this in a lot more detail so you do understand it quite thoroughly. So recently, I think it was July last year, the government has put in place some new incentives to encourage employers to take on apprentices following obviously the COVID pandemic. So the new government incentives were introduced from August 2020, and what that entailed was that if you as an employer took on a new apprentice from the 1st of August 2020 to the 31st of March now 2021, you'll be eligible for an incentive payment, and there's two different types, which I'll go on to into a minute. And that apprentice has to be a new apprentice to your business. So there can't be an existing employee that you're upskilling, and there can't be someone who's been on an apprenticeship and has left an employer and is coming to you. So they need to be a brand new apprentice. In terms of what payments that you are potentially entitled to, for 16 to 24-year-olds, you will receive an incentive of £2,000, and for 25 and over, it's £1,500. And that gets paid directly to you, the employer. There is an additional funding payment that's always been existing with apprentices, and that is if you take on a 16 to 18-year-old, you get the additional £1,000. So you would still be entitled to that as well as the new incentive. So the eligibility criteria for that, sorry, Dowdit, going back a bit. So the eligibility criteria for that is as I've mentioned, that the employee does have to be new, and they have to have joined your organisation between that period. It was originally only until January the 31st, but they have extended that to March. You will receive those payments in 2 batches. One is after 90 days of your apprentice being on the programme, and then the final one is paid after 365 days.
Thank you, Nina. Sorry, I got a bit trigger happy there.
That's all right. No problem.
Just to wrap up there, what you're basically saying is that there's an opportunity if employers are interested in taking on an apprentice and they end up being a 16 to 18-year-old and they take them on before the 31st of March, there's a potential for them to get an incentive payment of nearly £3,000. Is that right?
That's right, yes.
Yeah. So there's 2 schemes there, everyone. So the new scheme that's come into place because of the current pandemic, because of the COVID situation, that has been extended from the January 31st to the end of March now, which is a great opportunity for you to take someone on. Will allow you to have £2,000 for a 16 to 18-year-old, or £1,500 if you're taking on somebody, 16 to 24-year-old, or £1,500 if you're going to take somebody on who's 25 plus. Is that right?
That's right. Yep.
Fantastic.
It is, yep.
And then there's always been a scheme in place for taking on a 16 to 18-year-old anyway, which is always going to exist. There's no end cap that we are aware of at the moment. So if you did take on a 16 to 18-year-old after the 31st of March, you will still be entitled to a £1,000 payment, and that takes place in 2 parts as well. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Thanks for clarifying. Right, I'm going to go over to Emma, who's going to give you a bit more information about doing the process of actually recruiting.
Hi everyone, I'm Emma and I work on the business services team here at Langley College. Our role is to offer you as an employer a really bespoke service to make sure that hiring the apprentice is as easy and straightforward and stress-free as possible. Our team, the business services team, will be the first point of contact that you have, and we will kind of answer any questions at all that you have from the initial call, and we'll be with you all the way through to kind of hiring your apprentice and taking them on and enrolling them. So really we're here to answer any questions that you might have, you know, whether you're looking to fill a gap, you know, you've got a vacancy in your team and you want to take on a new employee as an apprentice, or if you're looking to upskill a current apprentice, whether you're a large company with your own HR team and your own learning and development team, or if you're a smaller company, you know, and you've got 1 or 2 employees already and you want to bring someone else on, we're here to help, and we can just make things as simple as possible. And we work with a really wide range of employers across a number of different sectors, you know, different trades. And I guess our experience really helps us to then tailor our service to you to make it as simple as possible for you, whether that's kind of sourcing your apprentice, offering you interview advice, you know, accessing any funding that you're entitled to. We just want it to be as easy and successful as possible, and the support is there throughout each step of the process. So moving on to actually then recruiting an apprentice. So the first thing is to think about the gap in your team, if you like, what your vacancy is. So, you know, you need to have to think about the duties that you expect this person to do. what type of person you're looking for, any experience that they might have. So really you should have a rough idea around a job description and a person spec. And again, if you need some help with that, we're here. We can give you some template job descriptions, for example, that you can work on. You will need to bear in mind, obviously, that you'll have to read through the actual course that the apprentice will be studying, because you'll need to make sure that the role that you've got is going to fit the course that the apprentice will be on. It's going to work for them. They're going to be able to demonstrate a range of evidence whilst at work. So you're going to have a read through that. And again, we've got all that information. We can send that all over to you and talk you through it all. I think Nina touched on it before. You can have a think about what your business needs. Set some clear objectives that you want the apprentice to deliver. That's going to help you then train the apprentice to suit your needs, and then obviously create a successful workforce for your future. You obviously need to have a think about the salary that you're looking to pay. So the national minimum wage for an apprentice at the moment is £4.15 an hour, and after they complete their first year, it then goes to the national minimum wage for their age group. Again, there is certain things that you need to think about as an employer that you'll need to commit to. So that will be supporting the learner with their learning, monitoring them, mentoring them, allowing them day release to college. You also have to make sure that the learner is on a full-time contract and paid through the PAYE scheme. We can't allow, no, they wouldn't meet the funding requirements if they want a freelance contract. So that's very important. Again, we're here to talk you through every part of the step that you need. Any advice around pay rates, if you want to know what other similar companies are offering, we're here to kind of help you with that. Again, I keep saying this, but we just want to make it as easy for you as possible and make sure it's a successful journey. So the recruitment process, it's really, really simple. We'll support you through the entire thing. We will it might be actually that someone, you've got a friend or a family member that you want to take on, so that's fine. We've also got a candidate pool as well, so a small number of candidates that have expressed interest, we can recommend them to you. But if you want to actually advertise the role, we can advertise for you on our website, on the government website, and a number of job boards as well, and that's all totally free. We just need some information from you about what you're looking for, in terms of a bit about your company, about the vacancy, the duties, that kind of thing. And once we've advertised it, we will vet all of the responses initially based on what you're looking for, what your prerequisites are, and we'll only send over applicants to you that match what you're looking for. So it saves you lots and lots of time. We'll only send over ones that we think meet your requirements. We'll then talk you through the interview process, questions you might want to ask them, to really kind of make sure you are selecting that right candidate. Like Nina said before, we want to make sure that you're taking on the right person for your business. And then we'll support you with making that offer to the right person, helping them apply for a place on the course here at Langley, and get all the, get the enrolment all done. So we're there from the right at the beginning, taking on the vacancy, right the way through to signing up the learner on the course. So we've got a couple of case studies here. I thought it would be good for you to kind of hear it from people that have been through the process with us. So we've got an employer here from a large company, a couple of hundred employees, and they've taken on a business admin apprentice. And the thing that really impressed them was the communication and how easy it all was, how smooth the transition was for their apprentice, and how we made sure all the information was really relevant to them. And we're always just at the end of the phone, very approachable, and it was good for us to hear that actually she did find it very easy. So it's, great case study there. The second one from totally different company. This is a small company, I think only a couple of employees, and took on a new apprentice. Again, they came back and said that everything was just made so easy. They were kept informed. We kept in touch with them throughout the process. So just reiterate that we are here for you. Any questions or anything, we are here. And then another case study. This was a bit different again, a smaller company, but this was actually their son that they took on. They had a vacancy and their son was keen to learn the trade, so they approached us. They didn't know if it was going to work, but we talked them through all the options, and actually again they've kind of reiterated the fact that communication was there. We were able to explain everything, and their son started and he's doing really well. So it would be great if you know, we could have an initial chat with you and answer any questions at all that you might have. You can either put something in the chat that you want us to give you a call, or our contact details are there, our phone number and our email address, and someone will come back to you very quickly and kind of run through all the information that you need. Okay.
Thank you, Emma.
Thank you
very much.
Hope that's
Brilliant. Okay, so hope that's been helpful. We've just covered very quickly, obviously, all the different parts of the apprenticeship. We talked about the offer, what we can give you as the Windsor Forest Colleges Group, the benefits, including the incentive schemes that are currently available. And Emma has obviously explained how we can actually help you actually successfully recruit a valuable employee who will be apprentice and actually can help and contribute to your business and how you make it more successful in the future. So I want to be able to now open it to you and see if you've got any questions for myself or the panel, and we'll be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you, Daljit. I've just put a post out on the chat to see if anybody has any questions, just waiting to see if any come through.
No problem.
Got a couple of minutes if there's anything else you want to expand on.
Yeah, can I just say from a personal point of view that if you're thinking, you know, should I take on an apprentice? You know, I've seen the benefits, I've seen some of the things, but you know, let me tell you from my point of view. As an employer, I have an apprentice. I have a business administrating apprentice. He's a young man with us. He joined us when he was 18. He's due to finish his apprenticeship this year. I'm very excited about that. I'm more excited for him than possibly he may be. But the opportunities that we've given him is a hands-on experience at the college. Now, we are a large employer. Obviously, we fall into the levy side. That's not important. The most important thing is that we're helping a young person develop the core skills they need. It's not about just doing the course. He's doing a level 3 business administrative course. It's about the core skill sets he's developed. I've seen him grow. I've been his manager through the last 2 years while he's been with us. I can tell you for certainty, I can tell you his confidence has grown. His communication skills have grown. He knows about the etiquettes of behavior when he's picking up the phone, dealing with customers. And I can see he as an individual has developed, and he's become this kind of quite energetic, quite enthusiastic young man. And, you know, I feel very proud to be able to offer that opportunity. And, you know, hopefully that experience that I experienced will be something that you can kind of feel can be valuable to you and to your company. It can be, you know, challenging sometimes about putting the time and effort in, but it's so rewarding. And I do encourage you to think about it. And if you've got concerns and you want to talk to somebody about it, you know, you're very welcome to call us. And I'm more than happy to talk about my experience as an employer taking on an apprentice, and maybe I can share some of the pros and cons and help you through that process as well. But it's not just about taking you on and obviously recruiting, but we want to also explain some of the things that we've learned as an employer and some of the ways that you can benefit from that as well. Okay, so we're just not a training provider, but we're also here to explain that side of it as well.
Thank you, Daljit. Doesn't look like we've got any questions, so hopefully it sounds like you've covered everything off through the presentation, which is fantastic. For those people who've joined us today, we also are recording this and we will email it out to you. So you will have that as a reference point. And if anybody would like the team to contact them, please drop your details in the chat box or in the Q&A box, and one of the team can follow up, or contact them directly on the details provided on the screen. Thanks very much, Daljit. I don't know if you want to wrap up.
Thank you. I just want to thank my team for joining me. Nina, Emma, thank you very much. And thank you for all coming to and joining us on this afternoon. And we look forward to hearing from you very shortly.